Hey everyone, so I've just played through the entire 2.8 story and then I edited and made a video. The problem is that the video is 4 hours long. So I spent days and days editing, exporting, and now finally uploading, but I'm not sure when exactly I can post that entire video. It depends on when YouTube finishes processing it. So in the meantime, because I really want to share like my initial thoughts, and I know a lot of people are curious to know what I think about the story, I decided to clip the last part of that big 4-hour video and post here as its own individual video. So if you're going to watch my entire playthrough of the story, you're gonna hear all of this again at the end of that video. I know it's kind of like a duplicate, but it's just to share my initial thoughts and theories and many questions about the story, just because the other video is just taking so long to make, and I really apologize for that. My computer was literally exploding while trying to export this video. It was like 60 gig big, I think, or 80 gig. It was massive. So it's taking a little while. In the meantime, I'll just post this video. So this video is basically, I just finished the story and I just started yapping right after with my compiled thoughts and questions. So this is what this video is. I hope you enjoy it, and please share below your thoughts and your reaction to the story because I would love to read that too. Okay, so I wanted to share all of my final thoughts here. So far, I think I love the direction of the story. I think they're improving a lot. I'm really glad for that. But there's still a few inconsistencies, and after this whole quest here, I only have more questions. I'm a little worried on how they will answer all of that in just 2 chapters, so I really hope they are not simply going to shove it all in a single sentence, yapping a whole paragraph, and that's it. I'm actually not even going to attempt to theorize too much right now because, one, we have more questions than answers. Second, we don't even know what's true or not. They keep flipping, they keep giving us information, and then that information is not reliable or correct, which I don't really appreciate. I would love to have hidden clues and hints of things that are, truths here and there, so we can feel like the ending of things are more satisfying. Because I think that right now, however things end, it's just going to be a little confusing rather than satisfying. It's not going to really make anything click on our mind because we are constantly being fed wrong information, being fed lies all the time. So all that's going to happen probably is that Nikki is going to have some mysterious flashback by touching random objects, and now we're going to learn the actual truth. It's, it's a little annoying. I wish they would stop doing that. But other than that, I think the direction is really good. I'll instead list all of my questions. I wrote them down as I was doing the story, and I'll refer back to this in August 7th. To see if they actually answered all of it. First of all is about the multiple nutrients. We know there are 2 types of nutrients. One is golden, made of Shrooms, and is used to feed the heart of the city. But instead of feeding that heart of the city over there, they were feeding the Shrooms to the second core. Really strange core that is also very similar to the actual heart of the city. So here is the actual heart of the city there that I took a photo. The cores are very similar, as you can see. So I want to know what's the connection between these 2 cores, why there is a second core. Is Morpheus trying to make a second heart of this city? Something like that. Like, I want to know why there is 2 cores here. Then we have the blue nutrient that is used on the cocoons, but we have no clue what those are made of. The soul jade is purple, so we can see the crystals of the soul jade are all purple, not blue. So what the heck is the cocoon nutrient made of? They haven't told us yet. The only blue thing that I can think of is the dragons themselves. So I'm very puzzled and wondering if that's related to the curse. Then we have questions about the curse and Morpheus' true goals. Where did the prophecy stone came from? To me, it feels like the prophecy stone is more like a guidebook or instructions left by the Lord of Abyss. So the Abyss may know he was going to be sealed and left the stone behind as a backup measure to try and be revived someday. That could explain this purple smoke here on the map. Maybe that's the Abyss being revived. Maybe it will succeed at the end of this story and the Lord of Abyss will come back, giving Nikki a reason to look in. Maybe Akaro's corrupted body, maybe it's empty now and it was discarded there. maybe the Lord of the Abyss will take it over. Moffis simply wanted eternal life, just like the Titan King, and probably just like the Abyss. So the Lord of the Abyss targeting the god of reincarnation makes perfect sense. That's exactly the power he would need to be revived. But the Titan King already had the full mark. For a long time, for centuries, she had the full mark power. So why didn't they just use it when they had it? That's the part that I don't understand really well. I don't know if they required her soul to be corrupted, maybe across these centuries. I don't know. I'd love if a new body is taken as a vessel for the Lord of the Abyss, though. Could be anybody, could be Akaros, could be the new Titan Sui, could be Angert, whatever. Like, I would love anything like that. But all in all, Blue Eyes was definitely corrupted by the Abyss. Even if the Prophecy Stone didn't come directly from the Abyss, Blue Eyes was corrupted by it. And maybe Black Sheep noticed that before she disappeared or died, I don't know. Also, we learned that the Prophecy Stone knew about the Soul Jade. So if the Prophecy Stone is connected to the Lord of the Abyss, how does the Lord of the Abyss know the future? Does he know about the time loops? Like, maybe that's how he knows what's gonna happen. I just find odd overall that some tiny little humans had more power than the huge Titans. Also in the 2.0 trailer, the Titans were the cultists as well, but now we learned that the Titans didn't even know what was going on, which is a little weird. Because I remember I always talked about how on the 2.0 trailer there was Titans and also humans on that scene with the dragon chains, but now it seems like the Titans didn't even know, they were being forced, but like how? You know, it's a little weird. Then I have so many questions about the soul transferring, and I don't love it because it brought so many inconsistencies to the story that they need to explain really well, and I don't know if they will, unless they show it in a random lore book. Until last update, we knew that dragons, powerful children of Akaros, were able to mix their souls with the souls of humans. These mixed people were called Parxalians. However, that mix is imperfect and causes soul rift, a pain caused by having two souls in the same body. That's what we knew until last update. Now in update 2.8, we learned that Moffis appeared to the first Titan King Asna with the technique to transfer souls. This bothers me for so many reasons, because why Moffis, who are just random humans, knew how to do that, but Titans, who are children of Akaros, just like the dragons, had no idea that that was a thing? That's so weird to me. Also, why dragon soul tampering causes pain, but the soul transfer that kicks out a body entirely doesn't. Not only Asna had perfect soul transfers, the Moffis, who never did the soul transfer, have soul rift, even though they have only one soul in the body. So it's so confusing. Like, what even is the soul rift then? They changed what the soul rift is, and unless we were again fed the wrong information, fed a lie again, we don't actually know what the soul rift is anymore. Then we have the real confusing part that I'm really worried about, which is Angert's soul transfer. It is previously established in this update that nobody can soul transfer, only Asna, and she can only soul transfer because of the mark of the cycle. However, later, we learned that Angert was soul transferred. What the heck? Of course, his dad has the eye, kind of like Church of Observers, Abyss icon on his outfit. He was fully corrupted by the Abyss. They had the Prophecy Stone, so maybe that's all connected to Abyss powers, and that's what they used to soul transfer Angert. So now I'm thinking, what if Black Sheep, who is Angert's mother, used the other half of the mark to soul transfer her son? We also learned that Angert is not cursed with the soul rift pain like Blue Eyes is. But then again, why? Why wasn't the soul rift caused by two souls in the same body? Or because the soul's away from the body? Or now Angert is in his body, but he's not cursed? But Blue Eyes is cursed? You know what I mean? Maybe Black Sheep used the mark on Angert for the transfer, and then she just put it back in the Titan King's soul without Blue Eyes knowing. Remember that they told us that Black Sheep spent a long time in the soul corridor, so maybe she was learning more about the soul manipulation there. She also probably noticed that Blue Eyes was already corrupted, because he gets corrupted before she disappears. So maybe she did all that to transfer Angert, and just something happened to her. So maybe that's why Angert knew about the mark mark of the cycle, maybe he had it for a short time, so now he can feel the mark of the cycle in Nikki. But then since it was probably put back into the Titan King's soul, so now the Saintess can't, because or else like the Saintess would have felt it on Angert, right, if he still had the mark. So I think the mark was just used really quickly to do the soul transfer, and then so nobody else knows, like so Blue Eyes doesn't figure out. Maybe Black Sheep got it and put it back into the Titan King soul. So now Angert can sense or resonate with it, but he doesn't actually have it anymore, maybe? Like, that's what I'm thinking to explain this, but like, honestly, I don't know, because we don't even know what's true or not. Again, like, I can't even theorize this time because I just have so many questions. Another confusing thing is that Blue Eyes says that the curse keeps them out of the cycle of reincarnation, but that was their goal since the start. And also in the lore book, they say that the mark of the cycle stops the reincarnation. So I don't really get this part, like this is a little bit confusing. Also, the soul corridor should show your souls, but the Saintess is inside Nikki and her soul did not materialize inside this soul corridor. Maybe it's because she's a dragon and maybe all the creatures can't enter the corridor like Zappy and Momo, but still, you know, it's a little like they don't even talk about it, so it's a little weird. But the real messy part for me here is the soul rift. Despite being only one soul, the humans have soul rift, so they consider it a curse. But then the Parksonians have soul rift because they have two souls, and then Angert doesn't have soul rift, but he was transferred because of the mark, I guess. Maybe, like, we don't know yet. It's too many questions. It's a little confusing right now. But overall, I would like to say, before I move on to the next question that I have, in my defense, I did not cry because I know some people will be a little bit upset that I didn't really care much or react much when Angert died. But I didn't cry when Angert dies because I genuinely feel like he hasn't died. I need to see his funeral to believe it, because I feel like he's too important. I feel like he mentions early on, you know, when they enter the soul corridor, he says that if the soul dies inside the soul corridor, the body also dies. But his body seems fine outside. So maybe he was just like, he knows his way around the soul corridor, I imagine. Maybe Black Sheep is still in the soul corridor, I don't know. So I feel like maybe he's going to be revived somehow. Like Nikki could save his soul and put back on his body somehow. I don't know if he's really that dead. So once I see his funeral, then I'll believe it. That's why I didn't have a proper reaction yet. I think there is too many questions yet in the air. Then I have some thoughts about the Titans. First of all, I'll just say right away, I'm so sad that we are never going to have Titans walking around Heaven's Reach. I really thought that they were not going to do it, but I still had some little bits of hope inside. Not to complain again, but I really don't like. This is the one thing that I was really disappointed on. I think all of the questions can still be answered, but I really don't like how they changed the Titan King design overall. And I don't mean just visually, I mean her personality, her character. Because honestly, what is that? Like, again, her voice is completely different now. I don't understand why they changed it. And no, it's not her daughter voice. I went back and checked because she transfers between bodies multiple times and she keeps the same voice, as well as she starts the flashback talking to Nikki on that voice as well. She's just so incredibly naive and baby and easy to manipulate, despite being the Titan King of War and Wheel of Fire and all of that. I didn't see any of that baddie that we saw in the Coliseum in 2.0. Instead, we got a girly pop that doesn't know what she's doing. She needs to ask Morphis for everything. She's so baby, so naive, so baby. She doesn't know anything. She's gigantic, super powerful. She doesn't know. She doesn't know. I really don't like the what if parts in her flashback the most, because it shows that she didn't even try to take the right decisions. She literally just turned to Morphis and asked, "Oh no, what should I do?" And then Blue Eyes would come up and say, "Oh, but look, your people will die. Your people will die and they will starve." And then she would just believe on them over and over and over again. She didn't even try to check the prophecy stone. She didn't even try to think for herself or try and see if people were actually going to die or not. So I don't really like what they did to her character. It's so lacking. And in a way, it means that the prophecy stone actually wasn't really a prophecy. It was actually a guidebook, right? It was actually taking them to their destruction rather than predicting their destruction. And then the only acknowledgement that we have about all of this is just Nikki saying, oh, but her voice in 2.0 Coliseum was corrupted. But what do you mean it was corrupted? She only soul transferred one singular time at that point. Because on her flashback, we see that she takes over her daughter's body, and then Akros immediately appears right after. And I don't know. The timeline doesn't make much sense either, which I have many questions about that I'll cover last because it's too many. But I feel like they changed her character, or at least they teased someone completely different in 2.0. Maybe she was corrupted then, but like I just feel like she's just too silly, too baby. I didn't like that. I feel like I would appreciate more if she was a proper villain. Like she wanted this and she wanted eternal life and she was greedy, you know? Here it feels like they really want to redeem her, and I'm gonna explain why right now because I had thoughts about this, which ties back to another question that I had, which is that when they enter the soul corridor, Angert turns to Nikki and says, you will relive your past memories. He didn't say past memories in general, he said your past memories. However, we don't relive Nikki's past memories, we relive Titan King memories. So I personally think that Titan King's soul was stored away inside the little yellow triangle that Klick was carrying around. Remember when Klick dies, she says that her mission is to protect everyone, and then her voice changes as well. I think that Klick was here carrying the soul of the Titan King, which by the way has the other half of the mark, which is a little weird because Saint should have known, right? But anyways, I think that the Titan King soul is inside that triangle. Maybe Black Sheep really did do a switcheroo there, use the mark to soul transfer Angert, and then she put back the mark or put the mark somewhere else. Maybe the mark is on the Titan Su already, but then the Titan King soul is in this triangle. I'm very confident that Titan King soul is in the triangle and that Klick was using the Titan King soul there, and that's who we were talking to. And then because Nikki grabs the triangle and she wears it as a necklace, that's why we saw the Titan King's memories, because Nikki was carrying the triangle at that moment that she entered the soul corridor. But again, super weird that she entered the soul corridor, so we should see 3 souls there, right? Nikki's soul, Saint's soul, and Titan King's soul. Unless Titan King and Saint's have the same soul, that wouldn't make sense either. I don't know, but that's what I think. I'm almost confident that the yellow triangle is the Titan King's soul. We also learn about the Titan's curse, and I have questions about that as well. We learned that they all died by melting into gold, and I'm pretty sure as well, pretty confident that that's because Akros was sacrificed to power the heart. So they got all of that divine power from a divine body of a divine god, and they sacrificed it to power the heart. This allowed them to create the new cogbuds, which are powered by the heart of the city. This also probably allowed them to have these souls inside the cogbuds, because at the end we see a little sneak peek that the cogbuds carry some Titan souls. So that, more questions, more information being introduced that they did not explain at all. But I think it's related to Akros being sacrificed to the heart, and now that's why, Klick was carrying the Titan King's soul, and then we have cogbuds with Titan souls, and that's why the Titans all were dead and melted into gold. Because if we think about it, only Titan King did soul transferring, and only Titan King used the mark of the cycle, and she used it for centuries and nothing happened to her. So I don't think that the curse and why the Titan Kings died is related to her using the mark. I think it's related to her killing Akros. So the moment that she did that, then all of them were cursed, and then now they, melted into gold because the entire city was using that. So the entire city was quote unquote cursed to die that. It's just like some divine power going out of control. And that would explain why the Titan souls are in the cogbuds as well. Also, Moonsugar Spouse has a theory that the ballerina is actually inside the heart, never stopping, keeping it over and over, because she doesn't have a heart. She never stops, like the heart of the city, and probably is unstable now. So maybe she's going to be like Akros' vessel or vice versa as well. Really interesting. Really excited for that. What I really don't understand is why the Titan Kings, why the Titans in general, their souls were not going to the cycle. Because the mark of the cycle stops them from going to the cycle reincarnation, but only Asna had it. So only Asna should be, not going to the reincarnation cycle. And then, of course, the Moffies, because they were in the cocoons, they were not actually dying. So now they are all cursed, they can't go to the cycle. But then why did the other Titans not reincarnate? Like, why their souls were not going there? Like, you know what I mean? I have questions about this, the cycle of the reincarnation a little bit. And I'm also excited to see exactly what happened to Acheros there with the heart of the city. And I am pretty confident that that's what caused the Titan society to, all die. Then we have the part that confuses me the most, which is the timeline. I wish they would really be more clear on this, because until last update, we learned through the Young Dragon Diaries that Acheros disappeared long ago, leaving the dragons to ferry the souls and be extinct after a while. A long time after, the humans showed up and merged with the last dragons, and that's how Parksolians were created. Then, Acheros came back, raised the Saintess as a child, and then he left again. But the Saintess also said she was born with the half of the mark of the cycle, which is crazy, confusing, doesn't make sense. Because in the Titan King flashback, we learn that Asna already had the full mark of the cycle for centuries, and she even says at the beginning of the flashback that the gods had already left the world. What puzzles me the most here is that Mophis is the one that introduced her to the soul transfer. But Mophis came in the boat with the Parksolians, so they're super recent. How did they meet the first Asna? Also, how the heck Asna even gets the mark of the cycle at first? Because it was not from Acheros. She just grabs it out of nowhere in the flashback. Did Acheros give to her and they just didn't show, maybe? Or when he disappeared the first time, he dropped it? Is that like a thing? He just gonna drop the mark and she found it? I don't know. So weird. Also, is that really Acheros? Or is that the Saintess? Because she's also a dragon. And Acheros does not speak in the flashback while they are talking to Titan King. While Saintess appeared in the Mother's room 3 years ago with scars of chains and fire. So she was the one chained. And if not, then how did she die and appear in the Mother's room? So my personal thought is that maybe everything has happened way more recent than we think, than Acheros left for the Veil Fall or whatever on the first time. And that the Titans think that that dragon was Acheros. But instead, that was the Saintess, because now the dragons are gone, Acheros is gone, and they see a blue dragon, I think it's Acheros. And that's why Asna says, the gods are so frail, so weak. But maybe it's because the Saintess was not a god, she was just a dragon. The problem is that the Saintess said she was born with half of the mark. So that means the Saintess should have been born after Asna died really recently. So nothing makes sense. But how did Acheros come back to raise Saintess then? If he was sacrificed to the heart of the city, you know what I mean? Like, no matter how you look at it, the timeline makes no sense right now with the information that we have. We may have been lied to about multiple parts of the story, which is the problem, is like we never know what's actually being true or not. And I'm also afraid that they're not gonna really explain it, I think they're just gonna say like, oh, time shenanigans and whatever, So overall, I can't really piece the timeline together, but overall I'm thinking that it's kind of like more recent than we think. And then they sacrifice Acheros to the heart of the city. His soul being consumed or used there means that Saintess was able to be born. And then the Titan King died with the curse of the melted gold, or she split the mark in half so nobody could use it anymore, and then the Saintess was able to be born with the mark. The problem with that is, if Acheros was killed, to the heart of the city alongside with all of the Titans who melted into gold about the same time, how did Acheros come back to raise the Saintess? That's the only part that really breaks this the one theory that I have. Like, this is my theory to piece everything together. The only problem is that Acheros wouldn't have been able to come back unless he only came back like as a vision in her head, maybe. Could be that, maybe that could explain everything. I don't know. Timeline, super confusing. I really hope they give us some clues at least of when each thing has happened. At the end of the things, all ties in with Nikki being on the vase, which means she could have time traveled already, but then she forgot about it. Or this is all like another loop for some reason is overlapping, but they need to explain that. Overall, I think it's just a little confusing right now, so I'm not even going to attempt to theorize because we are lacking too much information for that. And the last thing that I wanted to talk about is the Shroomsaras, the Shroomlings, and Wilhelm. So lastly, just a small, almost like reminders, not even questions that I have. It's mostly just things that I'm curious about, but I don't have too many thoughts about it right now, is about the Shroomlings, the Shroomsaras, and Wilhelm, and how they're connected to each other. I feel like Mother Shroom has been kind of forgotten. Like, we don't really talk about her anymore. I do interpret that all of the Terra Alliance gods dying and getting, like, melting to the ground means that the Mother Shroom was born this way, and that's why she's kind of like godlike as well. But I think like they kind of forgot about her, so I would love to learn more about the Mother Shroom, her connection to the Saintess. Why did the Saintess appear in the Mother Shroom with all the scars and everything? I also think that it's interesting that only the Titan King could carry the mark for some reason, but like couldn't another Titan? Like what made Asna so special, you know, in that case? Also, the Shroomling souls was also forgotten from the story. We learned from Adele research that the Shroomlings do not have a separation between their soul and flesh, so they are all merged into a singular thing, which is really interesting and could be the solution to ferry the souls, for example, because they are not going to suffer from soul rift, if soul rift is really what we think it is, because now I'm not even sure about that anymore. Also, Wilhelm is kind of like the Shroomsaras, so we know that the Shroomsaras are artificial Shroomlings created and infused with something to make them power up the city or the heart of the city. Kind of like a power to stabilize the now corrupted heart of the city. That's what I interpret from it. But there is a lot of parallels between Wilhelm and the Shroomsaras. She's also golden hair. She also has red eyes. So I'm thinking, what is her connection? Why is she so desperate to go to Heaven's Reach? I used to think that she was connected to Mophis or Titan King somehow, but now I'm thinking it could be more specific than that, because Titan King, I'm pretty confident it's in the triangle, the little yellow triangle necklace that was on Klick earlier, this little triangle here, right? So I think that's the Titan King's soul. And I think that the Saintess, like, could she be related to the Saintess? But the Saintess soul is in Nikki, you know? So I think that Wilhelm may be artificial as well, like the Shroomsaras. Maybe she was created to be a vessel. Maybe she's going to be a vessel for the Mark of the Cycle. Maybe she's going to be a vessel for the Titan King, or maybe a vessel for the Abyss. Maybe Wilhelm is proper evil. I don't think she's proper evil. I feel like she may have some inner conflict like Angert did, very similar. But maybe Sonara didn't take the Angert's body to Magil. What if, like, at the end there is like a massive betrayal and Sonara actually got Angert's body and brought it to the Golden Court, or to be like a vessel for the Abyss, to the Lord of the Abyss. Like, you know, like, it could be anything. Like, I feel like she could betray Nikki, or she could be just like an artificial, like a victim of this whole thing. But there is definitely something really important with Wilhelm that we haven't learned yet, and they haven't given us any clues yet, because we don't really know anything about her, and that's suspicious on its own. But we're gonna learn on the second half of the update, of course, which is August 7th. It's gonna take a while, you know, it's gonna be a long wait, to be honest. I'm very excited. But I would say overall, love how the story is getting. It's so much better now. They really improved a lot. I think the story is getting more interesting, more dark, more interesting themes. And even though it's still confusing, and I would say that their pacing needs to be improved a lot. Like, the pacing is not really great. We have barely no story for 2 chapters, and then everything shoved in 1 paragraph. I think the pacing is really, like, needs to improve. And also they need to sort out their like, they need to answer some questions and give and make more questions at the same time in a more balanced way, so it's more satisfying at the end. I think they're lacking that satisfying resolution of things, of when your reader or player, in this case, like, when everything is revealed at the end. I would prefer that what we feel as players is, wow, that makes so much sense, of course, now that and that is connected, you know? And not, wow, this is crazy, wow, this is insane, whoa, what's happening now? You know what I mean? Like, they can't overuse the shock element. They need to balance out. I think pacing overall needs to be improved, but it doesn't matter because the story is so much better than it was last year. So I'm very happy about that. I really hope they do address most of the questions at least. And I think that overall, the fact that we are all so excited about the story, debating multiple theories on the Discord and on the comments of the streams and the videos, like, this is already a good sign of a good story because it makes you think, makes you curious and excited. And I'm definitely very excited to see the end of the story. And yeah, I'll finish my video, my second part of this video when the story is here, and I'll also do a full It's a Land story recap and also the full gameplay without commentary as well. So I'll organize all those videos and post over the next few weeks, maybe couple months. Before 3.0, we'll definitely have a recap of everything that has happened so far, so we can enter the whatever new nation with a clear mind. I hope you enjoyed this video, and please share down below your thoughts and theories and questions as well if you have any, because I'd love to read them through. Thank you so much for watching, and thank you to all of the members and patrons who support the channel and make these videos possible. And see you on the next one.
Ryan Little.